Hey everybody, welcome to Designing the Next Chapter, The Change Curve. So if you're here, it means that you have made your way to Changetique.com and you are looking to take the free course on the change curve. So first, thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming by, and we aren't going to hold you long. We're going to get you through this first course on the change curve. But as a prerequisite, let me explain why we want to have you here today. So the change curve is a prerequisite course to our Designing the Next Chapter course. And we want you to go through the change curve course because our Designing the Next Chapter course is all about problem solving and finding a creative way to make a fresh start in your life. But before you can do that, we often find that people are coming out of an unexpected change. Either that's a career change, you've been laid off, or you've raised your kids and you feel like you are ready for something new, but you don't know how to do that, and you don't know how to launch yourself, or you just haven't found the professional success that you want in the career that you're in, and you just feel a little stagnant, and you find that, this might be the right time for me to just do do something different. Or you've just had this latent desire to do something that is going to be more fulfilling. Okay, there's tons of reasons why people need to or feel the need to make a big change in their careers. And at Changetique, we want to be the place that you go to learn the skills and abilities and get the coaching that you need to make whatever fresh start you want to make. Okay, and we want you to start here by learning where you are on that change curve so that you can start solving whatever problems and making whatever fresh starts you want to make. Okay, so thank you for being here, and let's get started. Okay, so you'll find in this course that there are going to be a few objectives. First, we're going to introduce you to the phases of change. We'll outline what you should expect at each phase. We'll tell you what you should do at those phases, and then prepare you to take action so that you can design that next chapter of your life. Okay, so maybe you've heard this quote before: change is the only constant. Now that's self-explanatory, right? And you can agree that the one thing that you can count on is that something is always going to change. And that has been the case for centuries, since that's a quote from Heraclitus. So we know that it goes back many years. We want you to have a takeaway here that you will not be the first person to go through this. You will not be the last, and you'll find that this is going to be familiar for all of us. We're all in the same boat when it comes to how to manage change. That can be comforting because sometimes change can feel isolating. You can feel like this is only happening to me. No one knows what I'm going through, especially when it's a career change, like a layoff. You can start to feel like, man, how did this happen to me? I feel like, wow, this makes me feel like I'm isolated on an island by myself, because all the people who didn't get laid off, they must have been a lot better than me. Well, you're not alone, and we want to make sure that you have all the skills, all the abilities, all the tools, all of the knowledge that you need to make sure you understand how to launch your next chapter. Okay, so let's get into it here. When we face unexpected change, there's always going to be a challenge and an opportunity, okay? And what does that look like? When change occurs, it can be difficult to process the myriad of complex emotions that you're feeling. While we may conceptually understand that change is inevitable or beneficial, we grapple with feelings of inadequacy and fear. Understanding where you are on the change curve is the first step to transitioning. Understanding the change. Every change is about making sure you understand what is happening. It's the foundation of change. Understanding is about getting the tools, the skills, the knowledge, becoming aware of what's changing, and building a desire to do so. And you can't do that unless you really understand, right, what's happening. So we want you to understand what the change is, how it's affecting you, what your current state is, and then where are you going? Where do you want to be in the future? That's what Changetique is about. We're going to give you all of the skills and abilities you need to transition from where you are today to where you want to be. And it starts with helping you develop an understanding. Okay? So let's get into some of the actual phases of change. I said I would introduce you to the change curve. So this is what the change curve looks like. The change curve derived from the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She describes the internal emotional journey that individuals typically experience when dealing with a change or transition. The journey consists of a number of stages that people go through: shock and denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and then another one that we call problem solving. So let's talk about these a bit. I'm going to go into them in detail in each of the following slides, but I want to give you a little bit of detail about what they look like, right? So as the curve suggests, it's kind of a roller coaster ride, and it's an emotional roller coaster ride. If it looks a lot like the grief curve, it is. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross actually is the same individual who helped us to understand the grief curve that we go through, especially when there is death. She was the one to research it and show us the comparable feelings that we have when we lose a relative or a loss, when we have death, as well as change, because she feels like change is a loss. Right? Think about it. When you go through an unexpected career change, whether that's a layoff or whatever it is, you actually feel like you're losing the adequacy that you have in your current role. You've gotten good at that, you've gotten comfortable with it, and now, unexpectedly, you're losing it. So you are going through a series of emotions. So what are those emotions, right? At first, it's kind of shock. Like, you can't believe this is happening. And certainly you can't believe it's happening to you because you've developed a proficiency at what you've done. Why would this be happening to me? And then there's denial. You're like, well, this may be happening, but perhaps there's some mistake here. This can't be happening to me, right? And so you deal with the denial of that. But then you realize, okay, well, I guess it is happening to me. And you start to shift from that denial to anger. Like, how dare they? I've spent all my whole career getting good at this. I've spent my whole life trying to become proficient at this. I've gone to school. I've dealt with bad bosses. I've dealt with bad employees. I've done everything I can to become good at this. Are you kidding me? And so you then deal with the anger of it all, right? But at some point, you realize no matter how angry you get, it's still going to happen. And you try to find ways to soften the blow, is the way I term it. And so that's when you actually start to bargain. Does it start to sound familiar? When you find yourself in the curve, just go, me. Kind of raise your hand like, that's me, girl. But yeah, so then you start to bargain. You're like, well, maybe I can talk to my boss. Maybe there was a mistake. So it's kind of that denial phase again, but then it's like, well, is there something I can control? Is there some part of this that I can control? So then you go back and you're like, well, let me talk to the powers that be. Perhaps they were wrong about this. But you realize there's no part of this that you can control. It's happening. And these stages, these phases start to blend and meld together, right? So while you're bargaining and you realize your bargaining is not going to get you anywhere, you may still feel a bit angry, and it may blend over, right? So then, if you realize you can't do anything to prevent this from happening, you sink into that depression state, right? And I know that while that's, depicted as rock bottom, and it is the rock bottom of, the negative emotions, for me, it's where I get excited for my clients, because I can see you are now going to start asking the right questions. You are now going to be interested in the right things. You're going to start saying, help. I don't know what to do. I didn't see this coming. You're going to become vulnerable, and you're going to start reaching out for the positives. What can I do? And that's when I get excited, because I can then help you see that there is no need to reach back. There is need to reach forward. And so that's when I can help you shape acceptance, right? I want you to get to acceptance as quickly as you can, because on the other side of acceptance is problem solving. And that's really where we want to go. We really want to get you to that Designing Your Next Chapter course, because that's where you're going to find them. It's going to be where you see all the light bulbs turning on, where you figure out who you are, where you decide what you want to do next, right? So let's talk a bit about acceptance. This is when you decide, I can't fight it anymore. I realize it's wrong, what's happening, and I'm just going to prepare myself for it. And to prepare yourself for it, you have to know what skills and abilities. You need to know who you are. You need to know what you want to do next. You need to figure out who can help you influence that. And all of that comes in a whole series of preparation of its own. All right. Okay, so we finished that course. I hope you got the value out of it that you needed. Remember, it doesn't matter where you are on the change curve. The goal is to get to acceptance as quickly as possible, and then to use what you've learned to begin to problem solve and create a new opportunity for yourself based on your acceptance of needing to move to a new future state. That's a lot, right? So I hope you're excited. As excited as I am to work with you or be with you on your journey to, creating that new opportunity. I enjoyed having you in the course today, and I hope that you are as excited as I am about the next chapter. Just in case anyone needs help in figuring out how to get to the website to be able to start the next chapter, you just have to go back to Changetique, go back to this free course, and right there in the sign up, there is a button that says Design Your Next Chapter. Or if you're on the website already and you're fiddling around, just go to the menu and go to Courses, and you can hit the Design Your Next Chapter course, and you can start there. Great things in the course for you to do. As a preview, some of the things that we work on in this course are to basically, one, make sure that you understand you. That is our empathize phase of the course. We help you to really assess what your worldviews are, what your life views are, what your personality is, and how all of those things tie together to some of the tangible things that you enjoy doing in your work life, right? And so we just kind of dive in and help you to empathize and understand you. And then we move on into some of the more tangible phases, like the design phase. And we do workshops and tools and skills, and to help you just brainstorm on some of the things that you're uniquely interested in doing, and problems you want to solve. And then once we get to a problem that you are interested in solving, we get into actually creating plans around that. What do opportunities look like that help you to solve those things that you are uniquely interested in solving? And once you have those plans, you would be remiss to jump into a journey without having people to go along with the journey with you. So we would talk to you a bit about how you identify influencers and who those influences should be, and what kinds of influencers you need to invest in your journey. So we take you through that. We take you through prototyping your ideas, we take you through testing your ideas, and we even give you some interpersonal skills around reframing your thoughts around failure and what failure looks like. So we know we've given you a lot to absorb in this course and in helping you to understand the change curve, but there's so much more to do in terms of launching your fresh start and designing that next chapter. So we need you to head on back over to Changetique, click the button for designing your next chapter, and we'll see you on the journey for your fresh start.